This is Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. I'm Chris Lee, joined by Chase Robinson. Jay Greeson will be joining us shortly. This is the evening recap show. So here's how we do this. We're going to mostly talk about the games that we didn't talk about earlier. If you're not familiar with this, we usually do 3 recap shows. The first one, we talked about Alabama beating Missouri, followed by Ole Miss's narrow win over Washington State. The late afternoon session, we had Texas, Tennessee. We covered their wins. And the night section, we're going to focus mostly on Texas A&M's 34-17 win over Florida, Georgia's 20-10 win over Auburn, and LSU's win over South Carolina by the same score. We will also hit some stuff from earlier in the day. We'll recap that, hit a couple of national games of significance, and probably call it a night. We'll take your questions, your comments, your super chats, as we always do. And as always, we remind you, we're brought to you by our friends at GameTime SIDEKICKS. This is my 40-ounce water tumbler that I fill up in the morning with ice and water and keep with me all day. It is from GameTime SIDEKICKS, which offers officially licensed stainless steel drinkware, all SEC schools, 350 other universities, stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. SE16 gets you a 20% discount on your entire order. Also brought to you by the HOF app. Smart bettors allow data. HOF hands you powerful analytics at your fingertips to tilt the odds in your favor, improve your chances of winning using historical data, matchup grades, trends, and player performance insights. HOF was created by Ivy League sports geeks to let everyday fans bet smarter. For a limited time only, our listeners will not only get a 7-day free trial, they also get 50% off their first month when they use code SE16 at checkout. Just download the HOF app on iOS or Android, enter code SE16, and you're all set. All right, Chase, we've got, what are we down to, 2 unbeatens in the SEC?
I believe so.
Ole Miss, which got a narrow win
today,
and Texas A&M.
Yep.
So should make for an interesting power rankings on Monday. We'll wait for Jay to join us, I guess, in a minute to talk about the Auburn game. I think Jay's probably taking this one pretty hard. Poor Auburn, man. I don't even know where to start with Auburn. So, yeah.
I don't either.
Yeah, well, let's table that till Jay gets here. Here he is. Jay Greeson joins us now. Sorry, we probably popped him in prematurely.
No, it's all right.
I don't know where else to start. Like, can a team name a mascot Murphy's Law? Because I feel like that kind of sums up Auburn right now.
Well, I mean, I think Murphy's Law of college football has to start with – hold on a second. I don't know how you can have 5 different games going on at the same time and all of them go to a commercial at the exact same time. You know what I'm saying, Chase? I mean,
I do.
You have like 5 games you're watching and you then, okay, all right, this was a commercial. I'll click back to see what's going on at LSU.
Nope.
I'll click over to see what's going on in Texas A&M in Florida. Nope. I'll click back over and see. It happened in the 3:30 window. It happened at the 7:30 window. It is what it is, and God bless America. That's the Murphy's Law of college football. And before we get into the macro and the micro of what happened in Jordan-Hare tonight, I will say this as an Auburn graduate. Show me some leadership where you can battle adversity, where you can overcome something going against you. Don't give me excuses on why you didn't do it. Tell me how you're going to overcome it. And that's on Hugh Freeze. Period. End of conversation. And look, we can talk about how many bad calls went their way. We can talk about how the conversation is going to be on whether the SEC is going to apologize on over the weekend for the second time after a controversial Auburn loss. We can talk about a whole number of things. That still doesn't answer how Auburn got 25 yards in the second half. So you still got to play football. I mean, pick up and move on.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn, it moved the ball. It dominated the score sheet until the final minute of the first half. I mean, it looked like Auburn was playing a Division II school, judging by the stat sheet. I mean, total yards were, I think Auburn was over 250 or close to it. Georgia was like at 20-something. Then the fumble call happens, and it all went downhill from there. But it's like they weren't turning it over, which has been the point of emphasis. They were moving the ball, which had been the one thing they couldn't do. So, like, for once, everything's coming together for them, right? And then that happened, and you're right. It just all went downhill from there. And by the way, can we please start doing what league is it that explains? Is it the Big 12 that actually explains the replay and the justification
ACC.
of what they're looking at? ACC.
And
That's what we need.
I wrote this. And Greg Sankey, we know you're watching, and we know you pay attention. You have minions paying attention to all of this. You're full. All right. I know it. Hey, we're after hours. You're full of shit if you think your league means more if you're not going to be transparent, because you are only catering to the conspiracy theorists out there who think you are trying to angle Alabama and Georgia, not to the detriment of those teams or those fans or those programs, but if you're angling those to be partners with your TV and your broadcast folks, this is only adding fuel to the fire, because you're not transparent. You are only adding to the conspiracy theories. And right now it's laughable. Every replay showed he had the ball in his hands across the plane, and it's 17-0. We talked about this in the early games. If one play goes different, what was the play we talked about in the Missouri-Alabama game? If Missouri does not get the personal foul on that first drive after marching down the field and going up 7-0, what is the divergence of how that plays out? We don't know. And you know what? We'll never know. But Alabama walks away with a big road win. Georgia walks away with a big road win. And the SEC's two marquee programs are standing taller. And there are a whole lot of people wondering what the bleep happened.
Chase?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ACC, and I think that's really interesting. When I watch an ACC game and get to hear that, I think that's really cool and helpful. I think them doing that puts the SEC in a really tough spot, especially when you have things like what happened tonight happen, when we sit there and all these 14,000 replays in the first half, and we're sitting there for 6 minutes waiting for them to come to a conclusion, and we have no idea what's going on. Like, I feel like the ACC going that direction is makes it worse on the SEC in things like this, because you're right there. The accountability factor is not there, and it needs to be. There needs to be some way to show some accountability, and I don't know how they do that. Coming out with a statement afterwards, there's not much to that, but I think accountability is going to be big moving forward if they can find a way to do that.
And here's the question. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, and to be even more of putting a pitchfork into this hayfield, in the grand scheme of things, you could say that the fumble call was human error. Have you guys seen the replay about Kirby calling timeout before the delay of game, then running out there and saying he didn't call a timeout, and the referees saying, okay, replay the down? And I mean, it was like 1 second on a play clock when it was still a 10-10 game. That may have been, honestly, the most egregious, because that was actually officiating malpractice. The other one could have been human error, and human error at multiple levels. I don't know, but man, it was a tough night for SEC. It was a tough day for SEC officiating.
Well, they're okay. That last one undoubtedly is. I think that was when I was toggling between 3 games at once and trying to keep up with whatever was going on. So I caught that on the back end, but that's egregious if that's the way it went down. The fumble or no fumble at the goal line. There's 2 theories on this. Okay, one is that he scored and it should have been. Remember, the call on the field was that it was a touchdown. The other one, and I think if you slow it down, there was a defender behind. I think it was Raylan Wilson that got the second hit. That got a hand in there. That I don't know if it got the ball or not, but it may have. I think that's the angle nobody's talking about. But either way, it should have been a touchdown for one team or the other, because either if it's a fumble, you don't blow it dead and Georgia runs it back, or it's not a fumble, you overturn it on a replay and Auburn has a touchdown. So either way, it was a bad call.
Yeah, I was confused on if you know, apparently they ruled it a fumble, you know, in live action, why it was blown dead to start with. I was confused on that too. Even before they showed any replay, I was sitting there thinking, well, did they just call it a fumble? Like, why? Like that whole they mismanaged that whole scenario there. But because nobody had any idea
did the whistle even blow?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Either you think it's a fumble on the field and you let it play out, or you don't and you don't call it in the first place. But you don't do that.
No, I put this on Twitter, and I've been in more than a few verbal spats with more than a few folks across a multitude of fan bases, but it should have been a touchdown one side or the other.
Yeah. But give an explanation. That's the thing. You've got to get on the 2 things that have gotten completely out of hand, and it's taken too much away from what I think is a super interesting year. It's these kind of calls where there's a replay and they don't tell us what they saw or didn't see, and it's targeting, which I think the targeting rule may need to be rewritten. I don't know what to do anymore. I saw some plays that by the letter of the law probably were targeting. I don't know what the defender's supposed to do or not do. And there were some plays today where targeting probably should have been called and wasn't. And like, those are the 2 things that like we talk about every week in this league. And I think it's too bad, because I think the product on the field is as competitive and interesting as it's ever been. Now you might say, hey, you enjoyed it more when there's a dominant and great team. And I get it. Dominant teams are fun. They're historic. They make for great comparisons. I don't think we got one of those in the league this year. But what we do have is a Saturday on which pretty much anybody can beat anybody. You might leave Kentucky out of that, but Arkansas showed today. Went to Knoxville and came within an eyelash of getting one. Anything can happen any given Saturday, and we are left talking about this instead to lead off 15 minutes of a show.
I'll add one other thing, though. Everybody deals with this.
Yes.
And the upper echelon coaches have their teams prepared to deal with this. And Hugh Freeze is not that.
I think here's another thing. Jay, you brought this up today. I think it's a great point. Have a chip in the football. That way you take some mystery out of the spotting. But I think as long as that's not part of the game, and it can be, and as long as you do not have an explanation on replay, whether the crew gets it right or not, it leaves everybody open for the fixes in kind of talk. And that is what is lighting up Twitter. It's lighting up our chat. It's what's going to be lighting up talk shows on Monday morning in the SEC. Right or wrong, whether the officials got it right or not, explain it. Explain it.
Deacon,
tell us what you saw.
Deacon, No, in a million years. I know Auburn deals with every game, but they don't deal with it well.
Yeah.
I mean, so look, I said this about Alabama, Missouri. The championship medal is real, and that's medal with 2 T's and an LE. Those kids, those coaches, those programs who are used to dealing with adversity handle it better. And that, with the balancing talent across this league, that may be the most defining factor.
Jay, I want to go back to something you said at the beginning of this, and it's taking away all the calls that should or could have been made. The fact that, and I think this is my biggest problem with Auburn, is the lack of offensive production late in games. I was sitting there watching the game thinking about the Texas A&M game where, they had like -2 yards and then late in the fourth quarter or something. But just the fact that one, that it drastically changed, they weren't able to handle the adversity well, but two, just the trend in the lack of offensive production late in games for Auburn. That has nothing to do with the officials or any call that happened. They've got to be able to produce late in games, and they're not right now.
Well, I mean, in the macro, it is the inability to develop. And look, we overanalyze so many different things through the offseason. The one thing we underanalyzed was the statement Hugh Freeze gave that the number one goal was try to instill confidence in Jackson Arnold. And because when things are going well, Jackson Arnold looks like a 5-star. When things aren't, he looks like he should be playing for a 5A high school team. So I completely now understand why the summer goal was to give Jackson Arnold confidence as Auburn's quarterback. But look, I mean, the terrible call that changed the direction of the game that Hugh Freeze will assuredly blame, and Auburn fans everywhere, look, everybody, that's where I went to school. It's where my son's probably going to go to school. We are an Auburn household. Everybody is irate about it. You still had 2 quarters left, up 10-3. Go win the football game at home. I mean, look, we can talk about conspiracy theories and all the other things and all the hidden shadows, and all of it makes me tired. It really does. And it makes me sad that the SEC is allowing that to fester like mushrooms in a wet field. But go win a football game. Go be tougher than them. Go make a play.
It felt like all the air went out of the building after that one play.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Can you really be a program that wants to compete for championships that one play sucks the gas out of everybody in the program? Players,
No.
coaches, and fans. And I am saying this as an Auburn graduate. I mean, they got more jobbed in this one than they did in the Oklahoma one. The calls were excruciatingly bad, beyond even the fumble. But you're still up 10-3. Go win a football game, man.
Yeah, let's put a bow on this one. I feel like we've spent the majority of the topic talking about those things. I want to hit George in just a minute. Right before we do, and then we'll move on to the other 2 games and then wrap it up, kind of recap the other games earlier in the day just quickly. Again, we did that on separate shows, but reminder, we're brought to you by the Yearly Company. Hey, I'm going to do you a favor here. Get a head start on your Christmas shopping with Yearly Company. It's a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition and designed for meaning. Each piece is handcrafted from solid 14-karat gold, natural gemstones, made to measure for a perfect fit, backed by a lifetime guarantee. Because every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized, knowing your size is the most important step before ordering. That's where our sizing kit comes in. It is the perfect place to start, especially for the husbands who want to have sizes ready now. So shopping closer to the holidays is effortless. Code SE16KIT will get you 100% off your sizing kit. So get a head start on Christmas. Help out those who help us here at the show. All right, college football, we get emotional about it. Do you want to throw your phone at times? I think we've all been there. If you do, hope you got ROKFORM. It is the world's strongest magnetic phone case, military-grade stuff. I've dropped my phone many times. It comes out like nothing ever happened. It gives you extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock-lock secure mounting. September and October are the busiest months of the year with the new iPhone release. SEC 2.5 gets you 25% off your order at rockform.com. Swear by their stuff. You guys use it, you will be too. Also, your team might stink, but your team's hats don't have to stink. My team stinks in the NFL. I'm a Titans guy. But I got two terrific Titans hats, thanks to Hovey Dry Goods. They make your new favorite hat. Look no further than Hovey Hats for a high-quality headwear with a great fit and unique designs. Bad beat for 15% off. That code has been Auburn at times this year, too. For obvious reasons. That gets you 15% off your entire order at HoveyDryGoods.com, where we love their hats. Jay, I think you got next here, so I'll let you go.
Well, I just was going to tell you, Justin and Josh have a couple of paid chats or whatever they're called.
Sure.
That we need to get to. And look, gang, we'll start there. Josh it's a fair point to anybody who is espousing conspiracy theories about protecting the name brands in the league. But if you are bumping up 2 in a playoff era where you're trying to get 4, you're only hurting yourself, and you're going to hurt yourself more. And you're going to hurt yourself more in an era where the ACC is going to say, well, we're transparent with this across all platforms. So the SEC has to look hard at what they are doing in terms of officiating, not just in the real time, but in the full time.
I'm going to throw something in the chat here, because this is something I've been kind of following this year. And I'm going to see who notices something here first. This is in the chat for everybody. So listeners, you can have a look at this too. This is penalties per game. The NCAA does not keep official stats on its website, I guess, for penalties per game. So I'm using a site called Team Rankings, and it does not include the FCS game. But take a look at this, see if you guys noticed anything interesting. And this is ranked by fewest penalties a game.
Where are you posting it?
I posted it in the chat for everybody, not just the private chat for us.
Okay. I can't click on it, but Rick says man up and win, and I completely agree.
Well, let me just tell you, I'll cut to the chase here. You go down the list of least penalized teams, you do not get to an SEC team until Georgia at 30. Now, I don't know how that stands after tonight. The next team on the list would be Alabama at 47th. Next on the list would be nobody else that I can see is in the top half. You go to the bottom, the most penalized teams in the country. You got A&M, 4th most penalized team in the country. Auburn, 6th most penalized team in the country, followed by Texas at 7, South Carolina at 8. right or wrong, they are throwing a ton of flags in the SEC this year compared to other conferences. Now, I don't know. A penalty's a penalty. Sometimes you're getting called for a lot of flags because you're doing a lot of holding and a lot of other stuff. But for whatever reason, there's a whole lot more flags being thrown when SEC teams play this year.
Well, there are a multitude of reasons that you can sliver that so many different ways. Every game's on TV. Every game's competed by 5-star dudes. Every game is highly competitive. I mean, look, man, we are halfway through this year and Penn State is out. And I am firmly convinced that there will be a 9-3 SEC team in the playoff. Yeah. I mean, the transition of talent and power and conversation going across, and somebody put it in the chat earlier that I think it was Salty put it that my hair looks like I have thrown an angry visor a time or three. Yeah, go ahead and double that number. This was such a typical Georgia Auburn loss. God almighty. But look, hey, develop a program that handles misfortune. Develop a program that handles mistakes. Develop a program that handles turnovers. I mean, be the guy who leads young men in a place where, whether it's in your control or not in your control, you then answer back. And Auburn didn't answer back. I don't give a damn about the call anymore. Auburn was a turtle in the second half.
Donovan wants Hugh Freeze to go off on the officials. Don't hold back. Hey, he's got kind of nothing to lose at this point. Rick says man up and win. I think that sort of summarizes Jay's feelings. And apologies if I missed any of these. We had a ton of these come in.
Man up and win is exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of if you keep getting hosed one call after another. And I'm not saying Auburn is or isn't. I thought the Oklahoma game was, that certainly got the conversation started. But I mean, call it right on the field too.
No.
And the league needs to man up if they get the calls wrong. Again,
no, I get it. Call it right on the field. And Oklahoma is different than man up and win because okay, you lost a fumble at the goal line, stuff them 3 and out, and do your thing, and then come back out in the second half and don't be a turtle. I mean, no, Rick's 100% right in tonight's instance of man up and win.
Let's talk Georgia for a minute. I thought Gunnar Stockton was really good. Throws for 217, almost all that in the second half, most of it at least. Runs 9 for 26. But with Stockton this year, it's not the yardage total, it's the timing. He's run for, I don't know how many touchdowns now, but he seems to have the right knack for pulling it down and running Chase. And tonight I thought, they got that 3-point lead and, there was some talk he should have maybe gone down. They could have run out the clock, whatever. I say when you got a touchdown to go down 10 up, 2 minutes left, you take it. That's what he did. Dove for the pylon and got it. I thought Gunnar Stockton, again, kind of in Ty Simpson fashion. The numbers don't pop off the stat sheet at the end of the night, but I thought he was really big for Georgia when he needed to be.
Yeah, he was. And again, second half was a much different animal for Georgia. And Gunnar Stockton offensively, I thought he handled it well. And he, to me, looked like a quarterback in control. Like when, they took that lead or they tied it and then took the lead, like he seemed in control of it. And I thought, the numbers may not pop out, but I thought that was a good game for him. He handled it well.
Yeah, and I mean, and credit Georgia's defense too. Okay, I mean, Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen, those guys were terrific tonight. I know Auburn's going to be doing a lot of looking in the mirror over this one, but Georgia finally, I felt, sort of played up more to the talent level that's got on defense. Remember, we talked about how this team is loaded with guys that, if you're saying in their respective drafts, are they going to be draft picks? Yeah, Georgia's got a lot of those guys, including probably some first rounders. But as we pointed out before the season started, Georgia was really young. Thought tonight Georgia, give those guys some credit too. They manned up late and just completely shut Auburn down in the second half. I guess that was it's whoever's turn. I didn't mean for that to be a mic drop.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what time we're going to have a conversation tomorrow live about whether they should be firing Hugh Freeze. Because, look, man, they didn't respond. They had success with like 5 plays in the first half, and the place was going nuts. And then one call, a monstrous call, but one call completely changed the game. Not a defensive play, not an offensive play, not a turnover, not anything else. Everybody else on the Auburn sideline for the last 30 minutes and 96 seconds folded. And that's on leadership, man. I mean, I don't know. I know we got multiple games to get to. I am so flummoxed as an SEC football fan, secondary, and an Auburn graduate primary of what transpired in front of my eyes.
Okay, I want to ask you, Jay, was this playoff or bust for Auburn this season?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, then you still got stuff to play for.
No, you still got stuff to play for, but you've now witnessed being out-coached, and you have watched having the better team on the field for the majority of the game against Georgia at home, and look, no apology. Hey, all apologies to Oklahoma. Their one call that the SEC apologized for and one 90-second drive that John Mateer led of beating Oklahoma. Either way, you're 5-1.
Okay, here's the point I'm making, okay? If your thing was playoff or bust, I guess if Auburn were to run the table, 9-3 stuff happens around the country, there's a slight chance Auburn gets in the playoffs because that will be quality wins, several of them left on the schedule, opportunities for them, including Alabama, which that one hits differently when you win it. Here's my point, though. If it is playoffs or bust, then what are you waiting for, right? If he's not going to get there, barring a miracle elsewhere, that's what I'm trying to get across.
No, completely agree. Because if you are in the camp of you don't think Hugh can do it, fire him now.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to let him coach his way back into – you don't want to do the Billy Napier, right?
Yeah. I mean, here's what they've got left, okay? Arkansas, they should be a slight favorite on the road. That may be closer to a pick 'em. Kentucky, they'll be favored at home. Vanderbilt and Nashville, they'll be slight underdogs. Mercer, they'll win that one going away if they show up, and then Alabama. Did I miss somebody? Is that it? Point is maybe some of the easier part of your schedule is ahead. But right now it just feels like they can't beat anybody. It's always something with them. So I think if you got a decision to make and you're not happy with 9-3 at the end of the year.
No.
Right.
Well, hey, Auburn fans were only looking for 8-4.
Yeah. One of us is supposed to quit drinking at work. I'm not sure who that is, but anyway. And Rick, the point was there's a lot of penalties being called in the league. Take that for what it's worth. It's just part of what this league has been this year. Forrest wants to know, can Auburn beat a team with the winning record? I think Baylor's got a winning record so far. So yeah, I mean, technically yes, but anyway, hey, we've hit this one to death. Let's go to the one that finished before all of these. Texas A&M and Florida. Did not get to watch as much of it because I had more eyes on Auburn, Georgia. But guys, I thought it was the same old thing for Texas A&M, just very consistent on both sides of the ball. Once again, Marcel Reed comes out of this one having done stuff with his arm, with his feet. I feel like A&M right now, along with Alabama, probably one of the two most solid teams in the league. I just don't have a lot of holes to poke. Not saying they're a perfect team. They may not be a championship level team, but I feel like they are getting better every week. And they knocked off a Florida team, Chase, that is starting to play really good ball.
Yeah, I was interested to see how Florida would come out of this one. And obviously they put together a good first quarter. It was 14-14 at the end of one. And I thought, okay, like if there's some carryover from last week, but then Texas A&M really took off, and I've been impressed with A&M, and again, able to put up 34 points this week. Florida defensively has played well this year. And so that was a big win for A&M based off the momentum I felt like Florida had coming off the win last week. But Texas A&M is I think they're showing now in the way they're able to win games that they've been a step above these teams that they've been going up against. I'm impressed with the Aggies.
Well, I will offer this in the grand scheme of my bitterness. Texas A&M has now got to play 3 home games in a row. What are they going to do on the road?
Yeah, because they're about to face a lot of those.
Yes.
They've got all 4 league games coming up on the road.
Yes. So right now, we judge them on what they've done, and I completely support that and back that. But they got a whole lot of rows to hoe.
Yeah. I think the thing that impressed me about A&M tonight, they came out, that game looked like it was going to be 100 points as a total in the first quarter. I mean, it just, they were scoring left and right. You look up and someone had another touchdown. Second half, here is Florida's drive chart. 3 plays, 6 yards, fumble. 9 plays, 47 yards, field goal. 5 plays, 10 yards, and I guess a punt. Then 5 plays, 30 yards, turned it over on downs. 1 play, 0 yards, and I guess that was a turnover, and then a run out the clock drive. When this shifted from everybody's getting points to points are the premium, A&M was a better team. I just think every week they are getting better at what they do. In my mind, when we have the discussion for number 1 next week, I think it's going to be a 3-team race, in my opinion. And right now, I'm kind of leaning towards A&M at the top of my ballot, guys.
They're going to be 1 on my ballot, and I'll go you a step further. Are they going to be 2 behind Ohio State?
Nationally? I mean, they've got – I could argue that they've got the best resume in the country right now. They have beaten UTSA and Utah State aren't great wins, but they're better than what some of the league was beating up on at that point. Notre Dame on the road is a terrific win. Notre Dame's been terrific. 2 one-score losses, the other one being at Miami. Beat Auburn, beat Mississippi State, and tonight beat Florida. Those are all really, really good wins. I know it doesn't sound like much, but you start doing the comparison game across the country, I promise you that stacks up really well. Now, Jay, points you made, they got to go on the road. Road games left at Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri, and at Texas, but all four of those feel winnable. And I would say particularly the first two right now, given the way those teams are playing. With apologies to LSU, which has got one loss and frankly, not impressive, but keeps winning.
Chase, to your point, even though they won and the AP voters are a fickle community, does Texas A&M jump Ole Miss in the AP voting?
It depends on if they watch the game or not. If they watch the two games or not. I think they should. I don't think they will, but I think it's a valid conversation to have, most certainly.
Okay. Best win for Ole Miss is LSU at home. Would you rather have that or Notre Dame on the road? Is your best win?
Oh, I know Texas A&M has a much better resume, but to Chase's point is, do they watch the games or just look at who won?
I don't think they watch the games, and that's my problem with the polls.
So, but no, I do think Texas A&M, with number 4 struggling, Oregon was 2, right? And they lost. There's a real
at
chance,
home.
Yeah, there's a real chance Texas A&M will be 2 or 3 in the country when the polls are released tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. So look, man, that's a complete football team, and it's hard to find a way that you're going to attack them on either side of the football.
Yeah. All right, LSU, South Carolina. That one was kind of an ugly game. Garrett Nussmeier got knocked around again. Had a couple of moments where it looked like the leg that he's hurt was maybe bothering him. LSU made some mistakes, threw a pick at the goal line. Bungled some other opportunities, but ends up winning this one 20-10. Over 400 yards of total offense tonight for LSU. I think that's the best total that LSU's had in a while. Let me check. Might be season high, to be honest with you. I'll check that. And yeah, I think it was. No, other than Sela. Okay, I think that's the best offensive game LSU's had all year against an FCS team. Baton Rouge at night. This was, guys, kind of the type of game I thought it was going to be. They gave up a big run to South Carolina in the first half for a 72-yard touchdown right after missing an opportunity to cash in on early points. But really, that was the only time Carolina really threatened to take control of the game. LSU just kind of leaned on defense and from that point and got it done.
Yeah, South Carolina, there's some problems up front. Offensive line is an issue. Lenore Sellers just cannot do his thing, and like what we saw him do a year ago, and so that's a problem that needs to be fixed. I don't know if you can. There's got to be some offensive adjustments though, because we know what he's capable of doing, and he can't do it right now, and they're going to run into some more defenses in the near future that are going to cause some problems too if they don't get some things up front fixed. But LSU, you mentioned great numbers, great day offensively.
I clicked over there in between my visor throwing tantrums of watching the Auburn frustration, and I don't know. I'm having a hard time recalling two dudes or to systems who have cost guys more money than what has happened to Garrett Nussmeier and Lenora Sellers, because both of those cats went from being top 5 NFL draft picks to now they may be doing the Shedeur Sanders sitting around in round 3 and hoping their name's called. Because system, whatever else, they can go test out and maybe reclaim their draft positioning. But, dude, if you have an NFL team and if Cam Ward got traded tomorrow, you don't want Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, in modern day big league football, major college football and beyond, if you can't move, you can't play. Period.
Here's the thing, though, guys. I tend to think when a guy is way off what we expected. Let's be real, okay? Garrett Nussmeier has played well going back a couple of seasons, even when he was a backup and got a bowl game. I think they beat the living tar out of Purdue, and he was awesome a couple of years ago in one of his first starts. Last year, really, really good. You know, again, 2 first-round tackles really helps you. Line of scrimmage isn't helping him so much this year. Health been a concern. A lot of people have mentioned many times, you know, had some time off for a core injury somewhere in his body. And then on top of that, leg issues tonight. So those are all things. Well, you can debate how much it affects him or not. But you know, is Joe Sloan's offense an issue too? We've seen LSU, you know, not long ago, remember what they were doing in 2019 under a big-time offensive coordinator. And that's a hard comparison to make. But my point is,
it's impossible.
When Garrett, well, it is, and that's fair. But here's my point: when somebody's performance slips that badly, and by the way, here's another oddity. Okay, their best receiving threat right now is probably Trey'Dez Green, who had himself a night and probably had the catch of the night that I saw. He goes 8 for $119 and 1 score. He's their tight end, and Kyle Parker was their second leading pass catcher tonight. Those guys catch their touchdowns. Barry Brown, who's a backup, is at 3. Nick Anderson, 1 catch for 2 yards. And Aaron Anderson, I think, did not play. I think he was listed as questionable and didn't play. It is a weird year on the stat sheet for LSU's receiving group, too. Like, I would have bet the house that stat sheet looked a lot different than it does halfway through the season. I've left you speechless.
No, not me. I mean, I was trying to give Chase a chance to speak because
I was reading some other things. I apologize. I was not ready to answer.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you're going to tell me that the conversation is you don't have weapons at LSU,
what did you spend all that money in the portal?
Then what the bleep are we doing, man? Then not only why'd you come back, but you've gone from a 3rd round pick to a 5th round pick. So look, God bless America. And this is a South Carolina defense that's been shredded by a lot of folks. So I mean, let's not act like they just walked up to Texas or Oklahoma or Alabama or Missouri. I mean,
well, I mean, where they did get their money's worth in the portal was the defensive side. A.J. Halsey, the Houston transfer, leads them in tackles tonight with 11. Jack Pyburn, I think, led their defensive lineman with 6 stops, had a half sack. Who was it? Tamarcus Cooley. Had the pick, had a pass defended. I mean, like, those dudes that they brought in on the defensive side, I feel like show up week in and week out. But something is wrong at the top of that offense. Again, I don't know where the blame is entirely. Maybe if I watch them a little bit more, which I'll probably do this week, I'd have a better opinion. But I feel like Nussmeier's health, that is a common sense starting point, because I feel like that the performance from him I've seen a lot better. And he's not a kind of kid that I think is gonna self-destruct. I think he's very mature. I always bet on that kind of kid. And when it's not going well, to me, there's something that's not right there. I think health's part of it. Maybe it's the system. I'm sure LSU fans can weigh in and let us know. All right, I want to hit a few more things tonight. We'll do medal stand in just a moment. Earlier in the day, I'm going to throw it to you first, Chase. If you want to mention anything in any of these games, Alabama 27, Missouri 24, Ole Miss 24, Washington State 21, Texas 23, Oklahoma 6, Tennessee 34, Arkansas 31. Anything in those games that caught your eye since you didn't get to go on the earlier broadcast with us?
Well, in the Oklahoma-Texas game, I thought Oklahoma started that game like strong. They were moving the ball. They did what they needed to do. Like you thought, okay, John Mateers, he's got the momentum. He's back. And then that kind of went away. And I was really surprised by that. Obviously, I picked Oklahoma to win, especially if John Mateers is playing. I think we saw some things out of Texas that just looked a lot different from what we're used to seeing in the past few weeks. So that was a great win for Texas to be able to win it the way they did. I was surprised that Oklahoma couldn't do what they needed to at least score in the second half to get a touchdown. That's not what I was expecting from Oklahoma. Just the lack of production, especially in the second half. So that was a shocker to me, but a great win for Texas.
Yeah, stuff around the country I wanted to hit quickly. These are games of consequence that are going to affect the playoffs. Indiana goes to Oregon and gets a 30-20 road win. Indiana, I think, is going to be in contention for that top spot in the polls. Probably not going to pass Ohio State, but probably ought to be in that conversation after knocking off previously unbeaten Oregon. Southern Cal beats Michigan 31-17. That one out in L.A. That's a game that probably gets Southern Cal, at least keeps it in the playoff conversation. Michigan going to have a hard time getting there without running the table. Ohio State takes care of business 34-16 over Illinois. Pitt upsets Florida State in Tallahassee 34-31, pretty much knocking Florida State out of the playoff picture. That's 3 losses for the Seminoles now. Texas Tech takes care of business. That game was kind of close at half, but the Red Raiders end up winning 42-17 to stay unbeaten. And this will eliminate Penn State from the playoffs, but Northwestern shocks the Nittany Lions 22-21. And a couple games I'm keeping an eye on. I don't think these are finished, but BYU at Arizona State at Utah could have some impact in the Pac-12 and potentially the playoffs. Jay, going to throw it to you. What stands out about the national games that we just hit here?
The clear and evident unrest in the Penn State locker room, because you can't have that much talent and lose 3 games in a row to 2 teams, especially the last 2. I mean, losing to Oregon in overtime, okay, fine. But then you lose to UCLA, who is garbage, and then you lose to a Northwestern team who's filled with a whole bunch of guys who I hope are working on my teeth or doing my taxes years from now. And that's a situation that's unraveling for James Franklin. Truly. That's the big picture game for me. The big picture narrative for me is championship medal. And while I think Dan Lanning is great at this and Oregon is building something, they don't have the championship medal that Ohio State does. And those kids are 5 stars and play a top 20 team and handle their business. They don't have the championship medal that Alabama does. And they go on the road and beat a top 15 Missouri team and handle their business. They don't have the championship medal. Forget all the officiating tangents that Georgia does and goes on the road and wins at Auburn because they've got championship medal. And that's leadership and a whole bunch of kids who've been in a whole bunch of trying circumstances and have delivered. And you can't forget all the rest of it. When you get down to snapping a football and one dude beating one dude, that matters.
Yeah, by the way, according to CBS and a few other people reporting this too, buyout for James Franklin, $56 million that they fire him right now, $48 million after the season. So, that's going to be a very interesting conversation. By the way, we may have missed a super chat. I'm going to look this one up. I'm going to throw a question to you guys. I mean, is Indiana now the poster child for football in this era? Like, because they're nationally relevant. No,
Signetti is the poster child for everybody. No, it's not Indiana. It's Signetti.
Okay,
he's going to get some phone calls. He's going to get a bump in pay.
All right, we read super chats. Rick, I appreciate the $49.99. I really do. You've left a couple tonight, and we appreciate that. I've got to. My man Jay has quit drinking. I think my man Jay's problem is we've been watching football all day, and he's in Eastern time zone. Am I close to the truth here, Jay?
Yeah, it's 12:30 my time.
Right. That's my point. Is that it's been. I was fatigued just from watching all the football today. I've had to do multiple shots of caffeine tonight just to get my head clear. But Rick, we do appreciate the super chat. You left a couple of those tonight, and really do appreciate those. But got to defend my man Jay here, who's good man and good friend. So, are we ready for medal stand? I've got mine. You guys can. I can read them. You guys can take issue, cheat off my paper and agree with me or give your own. So ready to run with it since it's it is getting late.
Yes,
all right,
go for it, Chris.
Teams on the medal stand. Your bronze medalist. I've got Texas A&M. Just thought that was a really, really impressive win over Florida tonight. Very decisive. Again, I thought A&M had a pretty complete performance, beating a Florida team that had started to play better. Did not give A&M a higher spot on the medal stand because of what the other two teams did. I had Alabama 2 going to unbeaten Missouri. Not Alabama's best day, but Alabama does what it does. It takes care of the ball, and it wins that one. And I'm not going to say in control the whole way, but it had a lead most of the day. And that always helps when you're Alabama with that style of ball. Number 1, I got Texas. Everybody had fun with the Longhorns at their expense, us included. Hey, Texas, you showed up today. I know John Mateer wasn't John Mateer, and I get it, but you had a lot to do with that too. 3 picks. And I think Texas, a lot of the conversation in the league centers on offense, but we got some really good defenses in this league. And Texas, debatably, is the best one of them, guys. So any issues with the medal stand?
I wouldn't have an issue with the names on the stand.
Okay.
But I may have an issue with the order because I'm going to put A&M first because A&M has consistently been dominant in every game they've showed up in, and they continued it against Florida. So, but no, I got no problem tipping the visor to Texas, no problem tipping the visor to Alabama. In truth, there's a layered conversation to be had about how Arkansas responded under Bobby Petrino.
Yeah. It looked like a different team.
And Georgia winning on the road after everything just did not go Georgia's way for the first 29 minutes of the ball game. To win in a place where everybody was jacked. I mean, hey, Tennessee took care of business. It was not easy, but did win today. And LSU, it's not pretty, but those guys just keep winning too. That's kind of what you get when it's conference on conference, with the exception of one team. All right, medal stand for players, and I think this is highly debatable. This is the way I went. I went Ty Simpson, Alabama quarterback. He was 23 of 31 for 200, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and 10 carries for 7 rushing. Again, it wasn't the stat line, but I thought it was the way he commanded the offense, did not make mistakes, and kept his team in position to win, which it did at the end. My silver medalist is Marcel Reed, who I feel like is either on the medal stand or in contention every week. 16 for 26 for 234, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 7 for 37, and a score rushing. And my gold medalist, I could have given it to the whole Texas defense, but I went Malik Muhammad, their outstanding corner, 2 tackles, 1 for loss, 1 pass defended, and 2 big picks of John Mateer. Any issues with the medal stand? Again, it wasn't clear cut. So if you got other guys, throw them in there, and I probably will not argue.
I think all those are deserving to be on there for sure.
What'd you say, Chase?
I said I think all those guys are most certainly deserving to be on there. Do you have anybody else, Jay?
I do. I'll take Arch Manning.
Oh, okay.
I'll take Arch Manning for a dude who I feel like Arch Manning has now become college football. He went from the poster child in being in Dr. Pepper commercials to now he's Andy Dufresne, and he's crawled through 500 yards of unspeakable crap to a place where he's starting to be able to play. And in the second half, in a game that was still a 1-score game, he played. He played well. So, look, nobody's anointing on this platform, and we didn't beforehand that Arch Manning was going to be the next Tim Tebow, but he's starting to be the guy who was the number 1 quarterback coming out of high school. And that it takes time to be that guy when you adjust to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very Ty Simpson type day. Business-like, 21 to 27, 166, 1 touchdown, no picks. Ran it 4 times for 34 with a long of 29. So, and again, Oklahoma's defense, arguably the best in the league coming in. That's a several team conversation, but I probably would have taken Oklahoma's coming into today. So it is best defense in the league, which is a lot of really good ones. I don't think that gets enough discussion. So, all right, gentlemen, any parting thoughts before we get out of here tonight?
Go ahead, Chase.
I mean, I think we still have like some of these games coming up in the next few weeks. I think will define a lot for some of these teams. I mean, I think Texas A&M is proving like they could be, because we haven't really seen that SEC team yet separate themselves from the rest of the pack, and I don't know if we necessarily will, but I think Texas A&M is trending towards really putting themselves at the top of the SEC, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in the next few weeks and seeing what they can do. We got some great games next week too. I'm excited about.
Yeah. Again, power rankings will be tough to do again this week. I'll just tip my hand. I'm leaning Texas A&M number 1. I think got a really good combination of resume and just showing up and playing well. Some of it's a look test, some of it's who you beaten. But I'm going to need to make a really good case for somebody else to be over Texas Tech right now with that unbeaten record and just continuing to look really good every week. That's my part. We will have a couple of super chats we'll get to on the way out. Jay, anything else from you?
Unbelievably disappointing night for my alma mater. I think there should be some real questions asked to the SEC office about how they're going to handle officiating and controversy. I think Kalen DeBoer had his best game in Tuscaloosa Saturday. all things considered. And I think Lane Kiffin loves his spot because I've talked to so many NFL, college, and high school football coaches who get the opportunity to come off a win and talk about all the things they did poorly, that your team is really focused the following week going into a big game. I think Ole Miss is in a real place to go to Athens and win.
Yeah, Ole Miss kind of got lost in the shuffle today just because nobody expected Ole Miss to be in a dogfight until the final minutes of the game. But hey, that's college football these days. You know, unlike some other teams, Ole Miss at least was able to finish it off and win it, even though it was not super impressive. All right, a couple more super chats. Rick, thank you for the $49.99 super chat. You were super generous tonight. Glad you were with us. Yeah, good teams adjust. You've seen teams making adjustments all the time. We're going to see some teams that haven't played well, thinking of you, South Carolina, that are going to jump up and maybe get somebody by the end of the year. Speaking of Carolina, shout out to our man, SC Scout Guy. He said, I believe they've had 5 inches of rain where he is tonight. So, yeah, this is one of those treacherous times of the year for a lot of you folks. So, hope everybody stays safe. And Rick say prayers out for everybody this weekend. You know, a lot of you guys know I'm in the Nashville area, and we had a big tragedy tonight. Jay, you probably saw it because you're in Chattanooga. Chase, I don't know if you did. Had an explosion at a plant about an hour and a half from here that killed, it looks like 16 people and just obliterated the plant. So prayers out to the folks of Hickman County, Tennessee. Just what's going to be an awful weekend. And I think we had one or two more. Josh says, please anoint Bama this week. Little Tennessee has no chance. Hey, Josh, you know better, man. Anybody's got a chance in this league in a given week, and that's what makes it fun. And I think that's why you guys show up. That's why we show up, because it is a lot of fun to talk about. So anyway, whether your team won or lost tonight, have a great night. God bless all you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you to Jay and Chase for working late. And we love you guys. Appreciate you being here. Again, God bless you. Have a great rest of your weekend. For Chase Robinson and Jay Greeson, God bless you. Have a great night. You've been watching Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel.